guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am Britt, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should, because I talk about geeky things, and today we are going to be reacting to one of my first Power Ranger videos ever. So this was done in October of 2013, but I'm very excited to actually react to this because I haven't watched this pretty much since it went up. Maybe I've watched it a couple of times since then, but I really don't think I've watched it a ton. And I would love to start reacting to some of my old videos, even maybe some that are now privated, that I don't have up, and talk about kind of why I privated them, or actually I think they're all unlisted, why I unlisted them. So this particular video is just entitled Power Rangers, because I was a little nervous about talking about Power Rangers because I wasn't sure how it was going to be received, to be honest. And I still sometimes don't know how talking about Power Rangers is going to be received by some people in my life. So it's still something that I don't talk about a ton and feel a little weird about saying that I'm still into. At this point, however, I was not really back into it. I think we'll find out in this video, but I'm pretty sure I was rewatching all of the things that I had already watched because they were on Netflix. But I could be completely wrong. So we'll find out. Let's go ahead and get started on this video. It's a little nostalgic for me because this was back when I was in my office. So the office is actually like just off to my side right here. The entrance to it is still not completely closed in, but this portion really, this wall that you see no longer actually exists. One of them does, because it's actually a corner. Let's just shrink my video down. So this was my old office. If you guys watched my videos back then, I really liked the way that my wall looked, and I'm still trying to emulate that with my actual vlogging wall now. But this wall no longer exists. This wall is now an entrance into this room. Probably gonna be very cringy because I probably disagree with a lot of things I'm about to say. Okay, let's watch. Okay, so last time we talked about Digimon. This time we're gonna talk about Power Rangers. I'm a very nostalgic person. So Power Rangers, so that was me actually being embarrassed about talking about Power Rangers. It's very silly for me to have been so embarrassed about talking about Power Rangers, but I am a very nostalgic person, and that's what made me want to start the nostalgia series, which turned into this turning into a Power Ranger channel, apparently. So anyway, this came out 20 years ago. 20 years ago. When you're old enough to be able to say that you saw something from the beginning, brand new, that's now 20 years old, that makes you, that is one of those times where you think about your life and you realize you're getting old. So when Power Rangers first came out, really I thought it looked kind of dumb. I had no interest in seeing it. The very first commercial I ever saw was of Kimberly talking about how she morphs into the Pink Ranger, and when she's in serious need, she calls upon her pterodactyl Zord to help her out. And I cannot find this commercial anywhere. I know it exists somewhere in the world. Please, those of you who watch Power Rangers from the beginning, please tell me that this actually exists out in the world. Because I do remember that. I do want to go further into detail about how I got into Power Rangers, and maybe I'll film that video today too, but we'll see. But yeah, if you guys want to see a video about a more specific, like in detail video about how I got into Power Rangers and kind of my overall like feelings about Power Rangers, let me know, and that is a video that I will probably do at some point in the future. I guess maybe it was because there wasn't enough about the show for me to really understand what the show was even about. But it didn't strike a chord with me. I was more of the Nickelodeon, like Rugrats fan, you know, babies going on Indiana Jones-like adventures. That's the thing I liked. But I was also a fan of the Ninja Turtles. So it's, again, one of those things where I really don't understand why I didn't get into Power Rangers. Because I really loved Ninja Turtles, like the original cartoon Ninja Turtles, for when I was really little. And then we moved back to Minnesota from Madison, and I started watching Nickelodeon, and I got really into Nickelodeon. But I don't know really why, I still don't really understand why Power Rangers seemed so awful to me. It just sounded really stupid. But my cousins, Adam and Chris, forced it upon me, and I kind of fell in love with it. I actually remember what episode it was that I first saw. It was the last episode of the Green Ranger miniseries, where the Green Ranger was evil. And all I really remember of that moment of my life was the Megazord picking up the Dragon Zord and swinging it around and making it crash into a mountain. Of course, I've seen that scene many times since then, but that scene still kind of resonates in my heart as the moment that I fell in love with Power Rangers, and so that scene kind of has a special place in my heart. No matter how many times I watch it, it kind of brings a smile to my eye because that was the moment that I fell in love with Power Rangers.
First of all, still true. 100% still true. Whenever I do watch the Green Ranger miniseries, during that one moment in that episode, I am kind of brought back to this like I was 7, I was supposed to say 5-year-old, this 7-year-old kind of mentality, and it really makes me happy. Also, smile to my eye. I say really weird things sometimes.
My favorite character throughout all of Power Rangers from beginning to end, it doesn't matter what my favorite character is that specific season or series or whatever you call it now, my favorite character forever will be Jason Lee Scott, the original Red Ranger, followed by being the Gold Ranger, followed by being the evil child of Malagor. In the Turbo movie, he was always my favorite, and mostly because
See, now making videos now with the way that I edit, the style of editing that I do now, which is this is a really terrible freeze frame. I would have actually probably have not put in the Turbo movie. I would have just stopped at the me being weirded out by the evil child of Malagor, because that's how my editing / humor works now. But this was me evolving. This time of my life was me evolving into the YouTuber that I am today. I use different editing techniques now, but this was when I started playing with the Zoom stuff, which I really liked. But anyway, just a little tidbit of how I would have probably edited this now versus how I edited this back then.
I had this huge crush on him. He is gorgeous. Gorgeous. And
also
he's totally legal throughout the entire course of the series. Totally okay for me to say that. The actor, not the character, I guess.
He was actually not 18.
Austin St. John is gorgeous. When he left, I was absolutely devastated. And he was replaced by Rocky, who, in all intents and purposes, I should have liked, because he's very similar to a lot of different characters that I liked throughout my time of childhood and teenage years. But for some reason, I hated Rocky, and I think mostly because he replaced Jason. With Power Rangers, I often associated the suits with certain voices. When I was rewatching that point of Power Rangers, even to this day, it's like, I can't hear Rocky's voice come out of that suit. I can't. That's Jason.
This is actually still incredibly true. I do associate the suits with voices, even now watching like the Sentai, because at this point I wasn't watching the Sentai. This would have been shortly before I started watching the Sentai, because I was still making videos in this room when I started watching, when I got Zyuranger, when I started watching the Sentai. But yeah, I still have trouble, and I think about that as I'm watching Ginga Man right now, because obviously, like, it's been a while since I've had to retrain my brain to understand that Saban a lot of times would do gender bending. And just a fun fact right now about my life is, so when I'm watching Ginga Man, I'm used to it now, which I think it'll be weird to switch back to Maya after this, but being that he gender bent, and I was so used to Lost Galaxy, it was really hard for me to get used to a male voice coming out of the yellow Ginga Man. So anyway, interesting. But yeah, I do associate still to this day also the framing. I remember thinking I wanted more of the wall, but I look so bad in this framing. Anyway, but yeah, I do associate the suits with voices. And so when I am watching Rocky, it is hard for me to hear his voice coming out of Jason's suit. But when he switches to the blue Zeo Ranger, I all of a sudden liked him, even when I was a kid. And that's because I no longer associated him with Jason. He could now be his own character. But yeah.
That is Jason. It's not Rocky. It will never be Rocky. I could never allow that to be Rocky. When he was the Blue Ranger, I actually allowed myself to like him during Zeo. Zeo, that is my favorite season of Power Rangers. Though...
First point where I disagree at this point. The only reason I loved Zeo like I did, and now mind you, I think I was in the middle of Turbo during this, so I hadn't rewatched In Space. And honestly, even back then, I think I'm probably about to say it, I love In Space. In Space is my favorite season of Power Rangers. And Zeo, I have this very important nostalgic reason that I love Zeo. It's a terrible season. I mean, there are so many bad things about Zeo. But because I told the future when it came to Zeo, when I told the future and I was able to say, you know, I When I was able to tell the future and say that Jason was going to come back as the Gold Ranger, that is one of the reasons why I love Zeo, why it still kind of holds a special place in my heart. Plus, I really love King for a Day, and I really liked the overall stories that they did during Zeo, but anyway, let's see what I'm about to say.
So, rewatching it now on Netflix and seeing that it came out in 1996, I kind of questioned the 10-year-old version of myself, because the 10-year-old version of myself, that's got some problems. But I did like Beast Wars, so there's that. My least favorite season of Power Rangers was probably Turbo. And mind you, I'm talking about like Generation 1. So what I consider Generation 1 is...
What you mean by Generation 1 is the Zordon era. So this was before I was part of the Power Ranger community and before I really started to adopt the actual lingo that's used. And it's the Zordon era that I'm talking about here, which legitimately was one of the only things I really watched of Power Rangers religiously. I watched Last Galaxy pretty religiously. That was when I lost interest in Power Rangers. I didn't watch any Lost Galaxy. I didn't watch any Lightspeed Rescue for a long time. I watched bits and pieces of Time Force while it was airing. I watched all of Wild Force. I'm sure I'll get into it, but yeah, and so like it's a little different for me now, but yeah, so Generation 1, I'm about to explain what I mean by that it's the, I think I remember saying it's like, that's what Power Rangers is to me. Anything past the Zordon era essentially is not Power Rangers, which is not true. It's not how I feel anymore, but it is how I felt back then. But again, it sounds like I'm watching Zeo at this point. So it sounds like I'm not even watching Turbo yet. So I must be watching Zeo at this point. So yeah, I haven't even at this point watched a lot of the Disney seasons. So, because I stopped watching like for good after I saw a couple episodes of Mystic Force and was like, I hate this. And in that video, I think I actually already filmed it. I vaguely remember actually filming that video. I need to see if I can find it. Oh Lord. It might have been one of the ones that I deleted. If it is, I'll have to refilm it. Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, I watched a couple of episodes of Mystic Force and I was like, okay, maybe I'm just done with the Power Rangers. Because there was a reason, and I'll get into that in that video. But yeah. So I didn't watch, like, I watched the 15th anniversary special for Operation Overdrive. I didn't watch any Jungle Fury. I didn't watch any RPM. I didn't watch really any SPD because I only saw the first few episodes and I didn't like it. What else? I didn't watch all of Ninja Storm either. And I hadn't seen any of Samurai. And I'd seen maybe a few episodes of Mega Force at this point, which is what prompted me to rewatch Power Rangers on Netflix. So just putting that out there, like, this version of myself has only really seen the Zordon era, some Time Force, a couple episodes of Lightspeed Rescue. So we'll go back to a couple episodes of Lightspeed Rescue, bits and pieces of Time Force, all of Wild Force, some of Ninja Storm, all of Dino Thunder, a few episodes of SPD, a couple episodes of Mystic Force, one, or actually it's technically two episodes of Operation Overdrive, and that's it. So bear that in mind as I talk about this in the next part here.
Is from Mighty Morphin through In Space. That's Generation 1. That is Power Rangers to me. And everything else after that is still Power Rangers. It's just different generations of Power Rangers. And now we're like in the 90th generation, I think. Something like that. Turbo was probably my least favorite season of Generation 1 Power Rangers. And that, I don't even know really why. Could have been the Power Rangers being baked into a giant pizza.
Don't lie to yourself. You love that. I will admit to this day, I love when the Power Rangers get baked into a giant pizza.
Could have been the really horrid acting. Not that the acting was good ever, but the really horrid acting of a character that could have been awesome, which is Divatox.
Carol Hoyt. So, Hilary Shepard Turner plays her in the movie, and then replaced by Carol Hoyt because she's actually pregnant in the movie, very early on, pregnant in the movie. So she went on maternity leave for the beginning of the series of Turbo, and then she came back in the second half. I do not like Carol Hoyt's Divatox. I do not think she plays a good Divatox, even though that is the Divatox that is there when they baked it to the giant pizza. But I don't like Carol Hoyt's Divatox, but I do like Hillary Shepard Turner's Divatox. And I think that this version of myself who hasn't seen it in like almost 20 years may have kind of forgotten, may have gotten a little fuzzy on the whole casting portion of all of this.
Though the only thing that made Turbo better was Elgar, and I am so glad they carried him over into In Space. Though Turbo is another one of those...
I need a minute. Elgar? Okay.
Those instances, and it's actually kind of reversed. Again, I associate voices with certain suits, and
I know
what was really weird is during the movie it wasn't so bad, but when I started watching the series of Turbo, because that's the season I'm in right now, and I just got to the episode where they switch out the powers, everything is right in my universe right now again. At the beginning of Turbo, as I'm kind of going through it, I was like, Tommy was never the Turbo Red Ranger, was he? Really? Ooh, that's weird. It's weird for me to hear Johnny's voice come out of the Green Ranger Turbo suit, and it's weird for me to hear Tommy's voice, Jason David Frank's voice, come out of the Red Ranger Turbo suit, and I'm fully aware that they were Turbo Rangers, but at the same time, it's like TJ is the Red Turbo Ranger, not Tommy, not at all.
This is actually still kind of how I feel. When it comes to Turbo, for me, the second cast rings more clearly in my head. Like, I remember them better. And even to the point that when I rewatched Turbo after Car Ranger, because it had been since this point that I had rewatched Turbo. So I rewatched Turbo at this point, and then I didn't watch it again until recently when I finished Car Ranger. I could have sworn that the Rangers switched a lot sooner than they actually did. Like, that's how much I think of the second cast over the first cast.
It's just weird. There's more to talk about Power Rangers, but most of it is ranting out of love, so catch that in times to come.
5 years later, and I finally start doing rants out of love about Power Rangers.
And I feel like ranting a little bit. So, yeah, I will see you guys next time. And if there is something else nostalgic that I may or may not have watched, leave it in comments below. And I really feel like rewatching a lot of things that I was nostalgic about as a kid. And I plan to rewatch them as long as they are available on Netflix, because I'm going to watch those on Netflix. So leave in comments below things that may or may not be available on Netflix, things I may or may not have watched. I know at some point when I'm done with Power Rangers, I'm going to rewatch Beast Wars, because Beast Wars is awesome. And I own that, so...
I do still love Beast Wars. I have it. It's over on my TV collection, but yeah, I don't think I ever actually did rewatch Beast Wars at any point, because I never did a nostalgia video about it. So I should rewatch Beast Wars at some point and do a nostalgia video about it.
It's about time for me to rewatch Beast Wars again. It's only been about 6 months. Power Rangers. I'm very excited for the 20th anniversary special, so yeah.
All right, so there was that video. I did have another one that I wanted to react to that I remember doing. And this one, my office is a little in disarray now at this point. Oh my goodness. So this one is Power Rangers, what I liked, what I didn't like. It's also Nostalgia episode 4. And so this one in particular, this one is where I'm going to go into more detail, I think, about the actual like seasons that I liked and didn't like, and seasons I haven't seen. So let's see how I feel about these seasons that I haven't seen.
So I've stated in previous videos that I still really like Power Rangers, and it's okay to like Power Rangers.
It is okay to like Power Rangers past Brit. It's just fine. Stop being embarrassed by it.
Truthfully, I only really like the episodes that aired when I was a kid, with the exception of Dino Thunder, and I did actually like Wild Force when it originally came out, but I don't think I'd like it anymore. I will watch it.
So we are, let's say, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. We are 7 months from when I made that first video, and I am still have not seen Wild Force. So I don't know if maybe this is when I was trying to watch Lightspeed Rescue and I couldn't get through it, and I was still trying to decide if I was going to finish it or not, or if I couldn't get through Turbo, because I do know that I had trouble getting through Turbo, I had trouble getting through Lightspeed Rescue, and I had trouble getting through Samurai. I think those were the only seasons that I had trouble like getting through. And I was able to get myself through Turbo. I was able to get myself through Samurai, but I stopped at episode 17 of Lightspeed Rescue. So I've not seen all of Lightspeed Rescue. So I don't know which portion I was in. This may be when I was trying to rewatch Turbo and it took me months, or maybe it was when I was trying to rewatch Lightspeed Rescue or watch Lightspeed Rescue for the first time and then couldn't finish it and was trying to decide whether or not I was going to finish it. Obviously, it's not Samurai because I hadn't seen Wild Force, so...
Episodes, if I catch them, I will watch them. I won't necessarily always like them because I don't know what's going on, and if I don't know what's going on, it's kind of weird and so I don't like it. My brain doesn't function normally if you haven't caught on to that already.
I mean, I don't know why I would have thought that was unusual, that if you don't know what's going on, you're not going to like it, because obviously if you don't know what's going on, you can't get into the story. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what my brain was thinking making this video. So I think what I was referencing was more or less the way I was like a few years before this, where it was during that time where, like I said, I saw a couple episodes of Mystic Force and just decided I didn't want to watch the rest of it for reasons that are completely strange to me. I mean, they're normal to me, but like strange to other people about me, essentially, because it's about what I like and dislike about television and movies and things like that. But I hadn't watched Power Rangers in a really long time, except for maybe Megaforce at this point. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't watch it if I catch it on.
So I'm going to tell you my favorite Power Ranger seasons. My least favorite season out of all of the seasons that I watched was Lost Galaxy, which is really sad, and I'm really excited to get through.
I love how I'm sitting there saying how, like, the last video, my least favorite was Turbo, but I did specify my least favorite Generation 1 Zordon era season was Turbo, and that is true. That is still true. But yeah, okay, let's see what I felt about Lost Galaxy, because Lost Galaxy did traumatize me, and so it took a while for me to actually really appreciate Lost Galaxy, and I think it was this watch through that I got to that right here when I got to this point. So this must be when I was still trying to watch Turbo. Maybe I'm watching In Space at this point because I finally got through Turbo. I don't know. But either way, I think it was this watch through getting ready for the 20th anniversary special where I really appreciated Lost Galaxy for what it is, because this would also be my first time watching it since I was a kid, and I was traumatized as a kid by things that happened in it.
In Space right now because I'm currently rewatching In Space, and I'm excited to rewatch Lost Galaxy because maybe I would like it a little bit better. I do remember really liking Mike. I remember going into it thinking Leo was gonna be my favorite character, but no, Mike ended up becoming my favorite character, and Mike totally deserved the Red Ranger powers.
Oh, whoa, okay. Kendrix is my favorite character in Lost Galaxy. Kendrix was my favorite character in Lost Galaxy when I was a kid. I don't know what this version of me is even talking about. And Leo is an amazing Red Ranger. Incorrect, you. Incorrect, you. And...
oh. Not Leo. So... but that's okay. He was the Magnum Defender. That was totally cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell Dylan not to watch this video.
My second to least favorite season of Power Rangers was Power Rangers Turbo, and I actually really liked it when it first came out, when it was first airing. But then upon rewatching it, it took me forever to actually watch Turbo. It took me probably like 6 months to actually watch all 45 episodes of Turbo because it's just so bad. I mean,
fun fact, it also took me like 6 months to watch all of Power Ranger.
The Power Rangers got baked into a giant pizza at one point.
You love that! Don't lie to yourself.
Which I remember thinking was hilarious back then, but now I'm looking at it and I wonder why. I wonder what was going through people's heads, and I kind of wonder what more could, be worse.
Famine, war, the current state of our economy.
Than that, production value wise. After that was
Beast Morphers.
Was Ninjetti or
I would say let's just buckle up, because you're about to come across some really terrible production issues, and Turbo is going to be the least of your worries. Being baked into a giant pizza is going to be definitely the least of your worries.
For season 3. And the only reason that that is the case is because I really liked the story that they set up in the Power Rangers movie.
This is still something that I feel very, very passionately about.
I kind of wish they would have gone with that, and I know that the Japanese had Ninjor, but then they should have just included Ninjor into the movie. Instead of having Dulcia, they could have had Ninjor, and I know that the stories are pretty much the same, but the movie was freaking awesome. The movie was freaking awesome, and to be honest, I felt like it just, when they decided to redo the movie as the television show and include Ninjor instead of Dulcia and not have them go to planet Phaedos, it just was not good. That and the whole Rita Zed being married thing was just really bizarre and awkward. And I can't handle Rocky being the Red Ranger. I just can't handle Rocky being the Red Ranger. It's no.
Still true.
After that would probably be season 1 of Power Rangers, and as much as I love season 1, because, you know, it's what got me into Power Rangers, you know, I think that it was just much better. I think Zed was a much better villain than Rita, and I think part of the reason that is because of the whole really bad dubbing of live-action Japanese footage. It was so bad. And I love my Zhu Rangers, so, you know, Bandora is much better than Rita. Let's just put it that way.
I should probably preface the fact that I did watch Zhu Ranger before I started getting the DVDs. I count getting into watching the Sentai as when I started getting the DVDs, because I don't like to remember times when I would watch things illegally, and I watched Zhu Ranger illegally initially. But I own it now. I also own Jetman, which I also watched illegally, so I feel better about that. And I've been buying the Sentai as they come out, so, or at least trying to. I'm all caught up. No. I still need Hurricaneger, and then I'm all caught up. But yeah. So at this point, I had not started purchasing them, but I had seen Zhu Ranger, so I probably should have specified that. I just don't like remembering that.
Way. After that would be season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and that is because I love Zed, and because I love Goldar. And, you know, the only thing that was missing was Rito, which was the only real good thing about Ninjetti.
There were a lot of good things about Ninjetti.
Well, and the cast storyline, that was pretty good too. The things I didn't like about that season, of course, is that Jason left, and Jason was my favorite Power Ranger. Well, and the cast storyline, that was pretty good too. The things I didn't like about that season, of course, is that Jason left, and Jason was my favorite Power Ranger of all time, and will always be my favorite Power Ranger of all time, and you can't take that away from me, because Jason is awesome and gorgeous, and oh, Jason. I also was not a huge,
I mean, when he's legal, same.
Fan of Tommy, really, and I think that it just...
Let me preface this. Okay, I like Tommy. I like Jason David Frank, because I know a lot of people love Tommy, but I feel like Tommy is very overused. I feel like Tommy is very overrated. I feel like it's time for us to stop focusing so much on Tommy and his character, and start focusing on other characters from the past. And I know that's happening now with the 3 that originally left, Jason, Zach, and Trini. I know we're focusing more on them right now in the comics, which I'm very excited to eventually purchase and read. But I feel like Tommy is just very, very overrated. And this, at one point, did form into me just disliking Tommy as a whole. And so that would be this portion of my life.
Just was kind of a bogus thing for him to become the White Ranger. I was really looking forward to a new Power Ranger, and I know when I was a kid I was kind of happy that it was Tommy because I wanted him to be with his friends, and
you were thrilled it was Tommy. Don't lie to yourself.
Blah blah blah. But now as an adult, I'm like, you know, should have been a new Ranger. Should have been brand new Ranger. And it was supposed to be originally a brand new Ranger. It was supposed to be the guy who was in Veer Troopers, but Veer Troopers was stupid, so they put him on that instead of Jason David.
Tell us how you really feel. Yeah, I was never a fan of VR Troopers. It's funny, it's the only Saban show that I could not get into, which is funny because I had a dog. And I remember when it first came out, I was like, I'm gonna watch it because it has a dog and an iguana. And the dog could talk and it was great, but I couldn't get into it. And I remember at one point when I was a kid, and I said, I don't watch VR Troopers. And somebody asked me why. And I said, because there's only 3 Rangers in it. oh, why does that mean anything? I said, well, because there are 6 in Power Rangers, which means it's for 6-year-olds or 6 and up. And because there's only 3, it's for like 3-year-olds. It's the only Saban show I didn't actually like, because I liked all the rest of them. I liked Beetleborgs. I liked Mystic Knights of Tirnanog. I liked even Ninja Turtles Next Mutation, which eventually haunted me later because I found out that Gabe was in it. He was like a suit for one of the Ninja Turtles, and Scott was in it. And so getting to know those guys and then like finding out that, I just was like, it just was a weird blast from the past for me. But anyway, beyond that.
David Frank. So after that would be Power Rangers Dino Thunder, which I watched and liked a lot. And I still like, and I really like the theme song. And that again was,
still one of my favorite theme songs. Probably is my favorite theme song. I do really like that opening. And I cannot handle it. I watch it every once in a while and I love it.
Jason David Frank returning as Tommy, the Black Ranger this time. He changed colors more often times than I changed my underwear. It's not true. It's not. Strike that from the record. But that season was pretty awesome, really. Production value wise, acting wise, it was the same as any other, child show.
I also hadn't rewatched Dino Thunder at this point, and I actually disagree with my statement here a lot. I feel like the acting in Dino Thunder was actually very, very good. I feel like the acting overall in the Disney seasons, for the most part, was a lot better than you had in early Saban, and certainly what you had in Neo Saban. And I'm interested to see what Hasbro's going to do once they actually have full creative control over Power Rangers after Beast Morphers is done. It'll be interesting to see what they do acting-wise. But no, I rescind that statement by quite a bit. I feel like the acting in Dino Thunder was actually really stellar. For a kid show, it was stellar.
Really cartoony acting, and of course the Japanese footage and blah blah blah. But one thing that I thought was really fun was the fact that they included an episode of the Super Sentai, and it was just really awesome. And I think part of the reason
you can tell I really don't watch a ton of Sentai at this point because I call it Super Sentai, which yes, that is the name of the series, but it's mostly just called, and I'll usually only just say the Sentai or Sentai. I don't say Super Sentai anymore.
They couldn't do an American version was because they had somebody out of costume with the Power Rangers, and he was a baseball player and he was speaking Japanese, and instead of trying to dub it, they just decided to have that be a Japanese episode of Power Rangers, because apparently Power Rangers became a Japanese show.
I actually don't know why they decided to make that happen. I think at this point I thought that they actually took every single episode and changed it into a Power Rangers episode, which is not the case even a little, especially later seasons when the seasons got shorter, and that would be the case for the Disney seasons because they weren't a full 50 episodes. The only reason I thought this was because my only experience with Sentai at this point was Zyuranger and Jetman. Jetman does not have a Power Ranger counterpart, and Zyuranger, they actually did try really hard to take every single episode and make it a Power Rangers episode. So much so that they actually ran out of Zyuranger episodes, and they had the Japanese company come back and make more Zyuranger specifically just for Power Rangers that never aired, which made me very angry because I really wanted to see the episode where Geiki and Burai turn against each other because of whatever the Slippery Shark would have been called in that episode, in that particular thing. And not only that, but the Wannabe Ranger, I wanted to see that, and I was so disappointed when I found out about Zhu
instead of the Japanese show becoming Power Rangers. My second favorite season of Power Rangers was Power Rangers in Space, and Power Rangers in Space was awesome for many reasons, and many reasons
that apparently you can't think of.
Astronema was probably my favorite villain of all time in Power Rangers. Even though her acting was usually subpar, I thought the character was really cool. The backstory, the fact that we have a backstory with Astronema.
As you guys can remember from a video I did recently, she is still my favorite villain in Power Rangers, and these reasons are very much the same reasons why I love and have criticisms of her.
Is totally amazing. Her backstory, the fact that we get a backstory for a villain, really made the show what it really could have been, and it made it a little bit darker, a little bit deeper, and it was pretty cool, and I liked it a lot. My favorite season of Power Rangers, completely selfishly, is Zeo. Completely selfishly because Rocky is no longer the Red Ranger, and that is awesome because I can't handle Rocky being the Red Ranger. I just can't. He can't be the Red Ranger, okay? He just can't. He was totally fine as a Blue Ranger, and I actually started to like him a little Sorry, I have this really weird hatred for Rocky just because he replaced Jason. And I know that's not fair. I've met Steve Cardenas. He's a really nice guy. Can't stand Rocky.
I was actually going to tell him that when I met him. So I met him in 2008. I met him, and I met Karen Ashley, who plays Aisha, and I met Jason David Frank, who plays Tommy, and I met, for the first time ever, met Robert Axelrod, who played Zed. So they were all at ASEN in 2008, and that's actually where the signatures, if you ever do catch glimpses of signatures on my first movie, that's where those are from. Except for David Yost has now signed it too. I've not met David Yost, but my friend Nikki did, and she brought it with her to have him sign it as a gift for me, so that was very nice of her. And I'm hoping to be able to get more signatures on that. I'm gonna go signature crazy when I go to Power Morphicon. Oh my god, I need to figure out how I'm gonna get signatures, from everybody. Anyway, I was actually gonna tell him that at ASEN, and I chickened out at the last second because when he was about to sign my VHS copy of the first movie, he freaked out because it was the first time he had ever signed like the original VHS release. He had always signed DVDs at that point. And he had only ever signed DVDs at that point. So it was really cool that he got to sign the original release copy, that I still had the original VHS release. And he got really excited about that. And so I kind of chickened out the last minute because of how excited he got over the fact that he got to sign that. And it depresses me that I don't have pictures with them from ASEN because I know this sounds really stupid and like really convenient, but why would I lie about this? If I'm gonna lie about meeting Power Rangers, I'm gonna lie that we're like best friends. We chat on the regular, which it would actually be kind of believable considering the fact that I've done guest relations for so long and have made friends with actors. But anyway, yeah. My digital camera actually that I had at the time malfunctioned, so there was no video from it. There was no pictures from it. I do have pictures, but the only pictures I have are from, because it was all on Friday, so I met them all on Friday, and my digital camera decided to go kaput. I also met some others that I took pictures with that I don't have anymore because the camera decided to crash and the memory card malfunctioned, and those images were lost forever. So I was very depressed about it. So then my family and I went and got me a disposable camera that I took with me. I had that developed later, and I did that for Saturday. And then I didn't actually go to ASEN on Sunday, but I didn't bother because it cost money to even get close to the Power Rangers. So I did not pay for more money to go and retake my pictures. I'm sure if they had found out that my camera had broken, they probably would have just taken pictures with me and been fine with it. But I didn't know enough. It was so early on in my convention life, and I didn't know how they were going to react to that kind of thing. So I just didn't bother. And it makes me sad because there are pictures in my heart and in my memory of me with Steve Cardenas and me with and Karen Ashley and with Jason David Frank and with Robert Axelrod. That will never see the light of day, but I have them in my heart and my memory. So, and hopefully I can rectify this at Power Morphicon and get pictures with, obviously not Robert Axelrod again, but I did get an opportunity to take a picture with Robert Axelrod again, which made me very, very happy before he passed away. So anyway, yeah, so fun fact, I was going to tell him I hated Rocky, but I chickened out. It's so sad.
But my favorite part of Zeo was the fact that Austin St. John returned as Jason Lee Scott and as the Gold Ranger. Now there's a story behind this. There's a story. Okay, so here's my story.
I made it to be continued. That's so silly. Yeah, so you can see some stuff behind my videos. Anyway, yeah, so there's that video. Or those two videos, I should say, about when I was rewatching Power Rangers for the first time and not as well versed in Power Rangers as I am now in the actual lore and the full storyline, the different seasons and the different timelines and things like that. So there you go. So let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this video. I don't know if you guys want to see more like this would be a fun series to start on my channel, reacting to my old videos. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye. At least there's nothing embarrassing behind these videos, or behind like my video. I need to learn like how to use my webcam better. I'm terrible at I'm just terrible at what I do. I'm terrible at making videos. It's fine. It's fine. I've come to terms with the fact that I'm terrible at making videos.